The transport shuttle rattled like a glorified tin can, its outdated stabilizers wheezing with every atmospheric bump as Arlenus 4 grew larger through the viewport. Blue-green clouds wrapped around the planet's surface like ribbons, the land masses shimmering faintly with bioluminescence even from orbit. Jack Renner leaned his head against the bulkhead and muttered to himself, "First contact with a peaceful alien civilization. And I get to be the idiot who trips over my own feet during introductions." The other passengers were stiff-lipped diplomats and science officers, all dressed in sleek, monochrome uniforms that practically screamed, "We represent humanity. Please don't embarrass us." Jack's uniform was wrinkled, half untucked, and his name patch had a suspicious coffee stain. It didn't help that his left boot squeaked every time he shifted. Professionalism wasn't exactly his brand. The shuttle's AI announced landing in a tone far too cheerful for the circumstances. As they descended, the Elysian capital came into view, a breathtaking sprawl of organic architecture, buildings shaped like unfurling petals, and crystalline towers pulsing with soft light. The planet was known for its tranquility, its people for their grace and advanced biotech. And Jack? He was known for patching together ship engines with chewing gum and questionable optimism. The moment the shuttle touched down, the hatch hissed open, revealing a small gathering of Elysians waiting at the edge of the landing pad. Tall, elegant, and eerily human-like, they stood with poised curiosity. The only real giveaway that they weren't from Earth was their elongated ears, tapering gracefully past their heads, and their faintly glowing skin that shimmered under the planet's twin suns. Jack followed the delegation, trying to blend in, which went about as well as expected. His boots squeaked with every step. He prayed no one noticed, but of course they all did. He was just contemplating yanking the damn thing off when his eyes met hers. An Elysian woman stood near the front of the group, wrapped in intricately woven fabrics that glistened like liquid silver. Her golden hair fell past her shoulders, her skin pale with an almost pearlescent glow, and those eyes, wide, brilliant, and suddenly filling with tears. Before Jack could process it, she covered her mouth, her shoulders trembling as sobs racked her body. The delegation froze. A few Elysians exchanged confused whispers. Others stared at Jack as though he'd just detonated a cultural insult bomb by existing. Jack blinked. Is there some ancient handshake I screwed up, or?" He turned to the human envoy, who looked just as baffled. The woman collapsed to her knees, tears streaming down her face as she choked out words in the Elysian tongue, her voice cracking with grief. Even without understanding the language, the pain was unmistakable. Something shattered inside her the moment she saw him. Jack's stomach flipped. His pulse thudded in his ears. He opened his mouth to say something, anything, but his brain short-circuited. The only words that came out were, "Okay, I've never been good at breakups, but I swear this is my first time meeting you." The tension cracked slightly as one of the younger Elysians suppressed a chuckle, earning a sharp glance from an elder. A translator drone hovered closer, filtering the woman's words into halting English. "You came back." Her voice trembled through the device, fragile as glass on the verge of breaking. Jack's attempted humor evaporated. "What?" His own voice sounded distant, as though the air around him had thickened. His heart did a strange lurch, like he was tumbling into the wrong timeline. The human envoy, a rigid commander type with ice-blue eyes and zero patience, cleared his throat. "Renner, stay put. This might be some cultural misunderstanding." His emphasis on the word misunderstanding suggested Jack's involvement was already considered problematic. The Elysians clustered around the crying woman, speaking softly in their melodic language. They glanced at Jack with varying degrees of suspicion, awe, and wariness, as if he'd walked in wearing a sign that read, "Galactic Menace." Jack rocked on his heels, fidgeting with his uniform sleeve, resisting the urge to crack another joke. This wasn't just awkward, it was wrong. Deeply wrong. His skin prickled and his chest tightened with something he couldn't name. Recognition? Impossible. They eventually escorted the woman away, her tear-streaked face hidden beneath flowing fabrics. She didn't look back, but Jack could still feel the weight of her gaze clinging to him, like static electricity. The envoy turned to Jack with a glare sharp enough to slice steel. Congratulations, Renner. You've been planetside for 5 minutes and already made someone cry. Jack managed a weak grin. Hey, that's a personal record. Usually takes at least 10. The commander wasn't amused. You're to remain under observation until we sort this out. No wandering, no interfering. No, whatever it is you do. Define whatever. It's a broad category. But his words lacked their usual bite. His mind kept drifting back to the woman's face. The sorrow, the shock, the undeniable flicker of recognition in her eyes. And for the briefest second, buried beneath his snark, a memory stirred. Alien skies, golden hair, whispered promises under unfamiliar stars. Except that memory wasn't his. Was it? He shook his head, forcing a laugh. Get it together, Jack. You probably just have one of those universal faces. He snorted at his own joke, but his reflection in the shuttle's window offered no comfort. The universe had a twisted sense of humor, and somehow he was the punchline. The room they stuck him in was nicer than most hotels Jack had ever been allowed to stay in, which only made him more suspicious. Sleek, curved walls of pale, living material that shifted faintly under the light, as if the building itself was breathing. The bed was enormous. The chair by the window floated a few centimeters off the floor, and the water dispenser hummed when it poured an oddly glowing, citrus-flavored liquid that he tried not to question. Still, even luxury accommodations didn't make up for the fact that he was basically under house arrest because an alien woman had seen his face and cried like he'd just ghosted her after a 100-year relationship. Jack sprawled across the bed, arms behind his head, staring at the softly glowing ceiling. You really know how to make a first impression, Renner, he muttered to himself, the words bouncing weakly off the walls. His mind reeled with the image of her, the long ears, shimmering skin, and those eyes filled with something that wasn't just grief. Recognition. It made his skin crawl in the most confusing way. A chirp from the door pulled him from his thoughts. The panel slid open with a faint hiss, revealing a human officer he recognized as Lieutenant Dwyer, one of the science division nerds, and probably the least threatening person to send for an interrogation. Dwyer held a datapad awkwardly to his chest. Hey, Jack. Thought I'd check in before the big, scary debrief. Jack sat up, cocking an eyebrow. Is that what we're calling it? You guys going to shine lights in my face and ask me where I hid the alien love child? Dwyer's lips twitched, clearly fighting a grin. No love child. Yet. But the brass wants to know why a respected Elysian had a public emotional breakdown over your charming mug. Jack groaned, dragging a hand down his face. I told you, I've never been here before. I've never met her. I've never even accidentally matched with an alien on a dating app. Right, Dwyer drawled, flipping through his pad. Funny thing, though. The Elysians shared a few historical records with us after the incident. He turned the screen around, revealing an old grainy hollow image. Jack's heart nearly stopped. It was him, or someone who looked exactly like him. Standing beside the same woman, Saylara, if he remembered the translator right. Only she looked even more ethereal, her hair braided in intricate patterns, her expression soft with affection. The man beside her, his twin, had an arm around her waist, and they were smiling like two people who believed nothing could go wrong. Jack stared at the image, pulse pounding in his ears. Okay, that's weird. Dwyer chuckled nervously. Weird. Jack, this picture's dated nearly 200 years ago. That's impossible. Welcome to my afternoon, Dwyer muttered, tucking the pad away. Elysian records list the guy as Kalen. No last name. He was, well, part of some deep space exploratory program. Disappeared under mysterious circumstances. Mysterious? Jack echoed, his voice cracking slightly. Dwyer shrugged. Records are fragmented. Rumors of experimental biotech. Maybe some hybrid DNA stuff. You know how these joint alien-human projects go. All optimism and star charts until someone vanishes. Jack blew out a breath, leaning back again. His mind raced with possibilities, most of which sounded like bad science fiction plotlines. And yet here he was, living one. You think I'm him? Dwyer hesitated. I think you're connected. Genetic scans came back. Interesting. Interesting is a terrible word in this context, Jack snapped, though his humor was already bleeding back in, masking the uneasy flip of his stomach. Tell me I'm not some reincarnated space Romeo. Dwyer offered a weak grin. Look, I don't believe in fate, soulmates, or galactic love stories, but you've got a 99.98% DNA match with Kalen. Jack's laugh came out choked. Great. I can't even win the lottery, but I win the cosmic doppelganger jackpot. Dwyer sobered. The Elysians believe in something called star echoes, memories, souls, identities that ripple across time, sometimes resurfacing in new vessels. Jack groaned again, flopping dramatically onto the bed. Next you'll tell me I'm destined to save the galaxy with the power of love. Dwyer snorted. No pressure, but command wants you to tread carefully. The Elysians take this stuff seriously. Yeah, Jack muttered, staring at the ceiling again. So does the woman who cried like I broke her heart. The officer lingered by the door. We'll debrief in an hour. You, okay? Jack forced a smirk. I'm stuck in an alien luxury suite, possibly reincarnated, and apparently the star-crossed lover of a glowing elf woman. I'm peachy. Dwyer chuckled softly as the door slid shut behind him, leaving Jack alone with the quiet hum of the room. The image of Sayalera's tear-streaked face haunted him, stirring feelings buried too deep to explain. His memories whispered fragments, echoes, but nothing tangible. Jack shook his head, muttering, "This is ridiculous." But a small, treacherous part of him wondered, what if it wasn't? The debrief room was exactly what Jack expected from a highly advanced alien civilization hosting awkward humans. A perfect fusion of sterile technology and unsettling organic design. The walls shimmered faintly like living pearl, embedded with strange bioluminescent symbols that pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat, which was definitely not creepy at all. The chair molded itself to his body the moment he sat, which should have been comfortable, except it made a faint sighing noise that sounded far too judgmental. Across from him sat Commander Hale, expression so sharp it could slice alloy, flanked by two other human officials and an Elysian elder who looked like she'd seen more star cycles than Jack could count, her long ears adorned with silver bands. State your name for the record, Hale began, tapping at a sleek, hollow interface that projected faint blue glyphs into the air. Jack Renner, he replied, trying not to fidget as the chair adjusted again with a suspicious squelch. Freelance engineer, occasional ship mechanic, frequent bad decision maker. Cut the jokes, Hale snapped, but her tone wasn't entirely hostile, more exhausted, as if she too had accepted that today was beyond normal protocol. The elder, whose name Jack couldn't pronounce even after 3 attempts, spoke softly in Elysian, her voice melodic yet lined with undeniable gravity. A translator drone hovered between them, converting her words with eerie precision. You carry the face of Kalen, the elder said, a being lost to time. You stir old wounds among our people. Jack raised a hand. For the record, I don't remember being lost to time. I mostly remember bad coffee and fixing ship engines for ungrateful captains. The Elysian's expression barely shifted, though the faintest curve of her lips betrayed something between amusement and pity. She gestured, and the hollow display flickered, projecting ancient footage, grainy but unmistakable. There he was again. Or Kalen, rather. Same unruly dark hair, same awkward smile, standing beside Sayalera under twin moons, their bodies close. Eyes full of a history Jack didn't possess. It felt like watching a movie he somehow guest starred in without reading the script. This, Kalen, Jack said slowly, eyes glued to the projection. He was human? The elder's gaze sharpened. He was engineered, a child born of both our peoples, a bridge between stars. Hale interjected, fingers laced tightly. Project Starborn. Classified human Elysian genetic program, shelved after the early expeditions. She shot Jack a look. Apparently, not entirely shelved. Jack exhaled, raking a hand through his hair. Okay, just to summarize, I look like the galaxy's long-lost Romeo. I might be genetically spliced space royalty. And now I've got an alien woman crying over memories I don't even have. Correct, the elder confirmed with maddening calm. Hale leaned forward. We need to know how much of Kalen is in you. Jack blinked. You make it sound like I'm a storage locker for emotional baggage. The elder's eyes twinkled faintly. Memories echo. Identities ripple across lifetimes. Some souls return, altered but familiar. Jack shifted uncomfortably as the chair sighed again. Louder this time, as if scolding him for his skepticism. Look, I believe in recycling, but soul recycling feels excessive. Despite the humor, the weight in his chest grew heavier. Every glance at the projection, every strained expression from Sci-Fi in the crowd replayed in his mind. The elder produced a small crystalline device, its surface shimmering with embedded circuits. We can access fragments, echoes dormant within your neural pathways. Jack recoiled slightly. That sounds invasive. It is voluntary, the elder assured, but without clarity, Saylara will remain in grief, in our people in uncertainty. Hale nodded sharply. An Earth command wants answers. You're caught in this, Renner, whether you like it or not. Jack blew out a breath. You know, when I signed up for deep space contracts, I expected mechanical failures, maybe a rogue asteroid, not reincarnated heartbreak and interstellar soul scanning. The elder placed the device on the table, its core pulsing softly. The choice is yours. Jack hesitated, mind spiraling. Every logical cell screamed to walk away, but that nagging pull, the fragments of alien skies, Selara's voice calling him by a name that didn't belong to him, they wouldn't stop. Fine, he muttered, reaching for the device. Let's see what ghosts I'm carrying around. The moment his fingers touched the crystal, warmth spread through his skin, followed by a rush of fragmented images. A meadow bathed in starlight, Selara's laughter echoing in the distance, and a promise whispered beneath unfamiliar constellations. His knees buckled. The chair mercifully caught him as his vision blurred. The elder's voices faded, replaced by a singular sensation. Recognition, deep and undeniable. Jack gasped, fingers trembling as the device dimmed. Okay, he rasped, voice cracking. That was new. Hale's eyes narrowed, scanning his reaction. The elder's expression softened, a glint of triumph buried beneath her composure. Welcome back, she whispered. The after effects of the memory probe clung to Jack like space dust after a faulty landing. His head throbbed with the weight of fragments, images, feelings, voices. But they weren't solid, not yet. It was like having someone else's home movies playing behind his eyes, slightly out of focus, just enough to drive him mildly insane. He leaned against the railing of an elevated walkway, watching the Elysian capital sprawl below. The city pulsed with soft light, structures blooming like organic sculptures that stretched toward the lavender sky. Twin suns dipped behind crystalline towers, casting long shadows that felt almost theatrical, like the planet itself was setting the stage for more drama. Behind him, footsteps approached, light, deliberate. He didn't have to turn to know it was her. Silara's presence carried a quiet gravity, impossible to ignore. She stopped beside him, her long ears twitching slightly, eyes shimmering like liquid gold beneath the sunset hues. Her voice, when it came, was gentle but edged with something ancient and raw. You remember. Jack kept his gaze on the horizon. Bits and pieces, like someone shoved a puzzle in my head and forgot the box lid. Selara's lips curved into a faint smile, though her eyes glistened with unshed tears. It is not always clear. Star echoes are fragments, not whole lives. She hesitated, fingers brushing the edge of the railing, close but not quite touching his. But your soul, it is his. Jack snorted softly. You sure? Because his soul apparently came with a terrible sense of humor and an allergy to commitment. A flicker of amusement ghosted across her face. Kalen was complicated and infuriating. Sounds familiar, Jack muttered, finally turning to face her. For a moment, they just looked at each other. Two beings tangled across time, stuck in a narrative neither of them volunteered for. He exhaled slowly. Look, I don't know if I'm him or me or both. But those memories, they're real, and they scare the hell out of me. Selara's hand hovered near his. the faintest tremor betraying her composure. I do not expect you to be him entirely, but I see the echo, and I needed to see you again. Jack managed a crooked smile. So, interstellar reincarnation, that's gotta be the weirdest reason anyone's ever cried over me. Celara's laugh was soft, melodic, cutting through the tension like sunlight through clouds. Your sarcasm remains intact across lifetimes, a small comfort. He chuckled despite himself, running a hand through his hair. Guess some things are eternal. They stood in silence, watching the city breathe around them. Bioluminescent flora curled along the walkways, glowing gently as dusk settled. Overhead, sleek transport vessels drifted silently, their hulls reflecting the soft glow of the structures below. Jack's thoughts buzzed, tangled with questions, fears, and the unnerving pull toward this woman, a stranger with familiar eyes. Celara spoke again, voice quieter now. You vanished, centuries ago. The project, they told us you were lost beyond the rift. The rift, Jack echoed, brow furrowing. Space anomaly, right? Big, glowy, dangerous? Her expression darkened slightly. An experimental corridor to bridge vast distances. It failed. We thought it consumed you. Jack whistled low. Consumed, huh? Guess I got spat out a few generations late. Perhaps, Celara murmured. Or perhaps your soul traveled farther than intended. Jack shook his head, lips quirking. You know, back home they barely believe in decent customer service, let alone reincarnated space pilots. Celara's smile returned, faint but genuine. Then they lack imagination. Jack's pulse stumbled, an unsettling warmth settling beneath his ribs. This connection, whether born of memory fragments or something deeper, it wasn't going away. I need time, he admitted, rubbing the back of his neck, to sort through the cosmic identity crisis. Celara nodded, understanding shadowing her gaze. Of course, but you are not alone in this. Jack smirked. Well, considering I've got ancient alien genetics, possible reincarnation trauma, and a glowing elf woman emotionally invested in my existential crisis? Yeah, I gathered. A soft laugh escaped her, breaking the lingering melancholy. You speak much, as always. He shrugged. It's a coping mechanism. Keeps me from panicking. Together they watched the night bloom across the sky, unfamiliar constellations twinkling overhead. The weight of forgotten promises pressed between them, heavy but no longer unbearable. For the first time since landing on Arlenis 4, Jack wasn't sure who he was. But for once, he wasn't entirely afraid to find out. Jack wasn't entirely sure when the impossible started to feel normal. Maybe it was the moment his DNA test turned into a cosmic history lesson, or when ancient alien memories started leaking into his brain like they belonged there. Or maybe it was the fact that every time Celara looked at him with that mix of hope and sadness, his snarky defenses wobbled just a little more. He stood in the Elysian archives, surrounded by crystalline pillars that pulsed faintly with stored data, ancient history humming beneath his feet. The place felt alive, organic and humming with quiet intelligence. It was both unsettling and strangely comforting, kind of like realizing your ancestors installed an emotional hard drive in your skull, without permission. Across the chamber, Celara and the Elysian elder conversed in quiet tones, their melodic language echoing faintly. Jack's mind wandered, eyes tracing the swirling symbols projected along the walls, fragments of old star charts and genetic schematics. His reflection stared back from a polished surface. Kalen's face, but lined with his own stubborn confusion. Commander Hale approached, tablet in hand, face unreadable as ever. They finished analyzing the archival data, she said, keeping her voice low. You ready for this? Jack shrugged. Define ready. Existential dread at maximum? Confused romantic subplot unresolved? Yeah, I'm good. Hale didn't smile, but there was the faintest twitch at the corner of her mouth. The records confirm it. Project Starborn was real. Kalen wasn't just a hybrid. He was designed with resilience, his DNA encoded to survive temporal dislocation. Jack frowned. Temporal dislocation sounds suspiciously like science trying to justify weird time travel. Basically, Hale agreed, the rift didn't kill him. It scattered him. Scattered him? Jack echoed, eyebrow arching. Across time? Across generations, Hale clarified, tapping the tablet. Fragments of Kalen's genome hid among human populations, dormant, until now. Jack exhaled slowly. And I'm the grand prize winner. Hale nodded. You're the first perfect genetic resonance, full activation, memories, identity, bleeding together. Jack rubbed his temples. Great. So I'm part walking science experiment, part reincarnated alien boyfriend, part sarcastic engineer with commitment issues. Solid resume. Hale's expression softened slightly. Whatever you are, it's stabilized now. The Elysians believe your arrival completes an ancient cycle. Jack groaned. Galactic destiny. Fantastic. Before Hale could respond, Celera approached, her golden eyes steady, shoulders squared with quiet determination. She carried a small crystalline artifact, sleek, humming softly with embedded circuitry. This belonged to Kalen, she said, offering it to him. It holds the last of his recorded memories. They are yours now, if you choose. Jack hesitated, staring at the artifact. His heartbeat quickened, not from fear but from the weight of choice pressing down. He could walk away, pretend this was all a bizarre diplomatic mission gone off the rails, or he could lean into the unknown and accept himself, all of it. He took the artifact. The moment his fingers brushed its surface, warmth pulsed through him, memories flooding in with startling clarity. A starlit meadow, Sayalera's laughter, whispered promises under alien constellations. The fear, the love, the loss. And suddenly, it wasn't fragments anymore. It was whole. Jack staggered, catching himself on a nearby console. His vision cleared, and for the first time, he wasn't just watching echoes. He was remembering them. Celara's hand found his, steady, grounding. You are you, she whispered. But you are him, too. Jack let out a shaky breath, managing a crooked grin. Guess I'm finally meeting myself properly. She smiled, tears glistening, but no longer of grief. You found your way home. Jack squeezed her hand gently. Took a few centuries, cosmic rerouting, and a ridiculous amount of identity crisis, but yeah. The elder stepped forward, voice calm but firm. With this, the past is healed. Our people move forward, together. Hale raised an eyebrow. And humanity gets bragging rights for accidentally solving ancient alien heartbreak. Jack snorted. Put that on the recruitment posters. Laughter rippled through the room, the tension dissolving like mist beneath twin suns. Outside, the Elysian city pulsed with quiet life, and for the first time, Jack didn't feel like an outsider lost in someone else's story. He was part of it, messy, complicated, but his. Later, as they stood on the overlook, watching the night bloom across the sky, Celara leaned against him, her voice soft. What will you do now? Jack smiled, the weight in his chest lifting. Stick around. Figure out this whole destined space hybrid thing. Maybe rewrite the ending. She tilted her head, eyes sparkling. With fewer tragic disappearances. Definitely, he grinned, and way more terrible jokes. They stood together beneath unfamiliar stars, the past behind them, the future wide open, impossibly strange but finally their own.